Rocket in the sky, catch your eye, please don't cry, wait goodbye. I survived all them dark, cold nights. Star, I am bright, I don't die, I won't lie. I'm just trying to be the best I could be and achieve my dream. I don't wanna die.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Sober Stew podcast. You are listening to and watching an addiction recovery podcast. Today, all the way from United States in Dallas, Dr. Robb Kelly, originally from Manchester, United Kingdom. Welcome to the Sober Stew podcast. Rob, how you doing?
You Stu, doing amazing, man. It's going to be a great podcast, guys. Take a seat, listen up. It's going to be amazing.
Listen, before we start, Rob, I want to know, are you red or blue?
There's a little story behind that. So I was blue all through my childhood because my dad used to take me to every game. But I ended up working for Manchester United as a doctor for 3 years. So I kind of, the Beckham days, the Keane days, all them Solskjaer days, they're good friends of mine. So I'm kind of pink. How's that?
Pink. Yeah, I like that. It's sweet. Listen, sit on the fence. Are you telling me you're on the fence? Yeah,
I am on the fence.
You're on the fence. All right, sweet. Well, listen, right. I ask everybody for a fact find before they come on, and I'll be honest with you. I scan them every week. I don't read them in depth because what I like is when we're sitting here and we're having a chat, I like these little ping moments to pop up in me, and I get surprised by what's what. Now, you're an alcoholic like me. You clearly shook through the need of needing alcohol. So you was a chronic alcoholic. You also realised that the issue was within your thinking, and that's what I realised 19 years ago. And I'm seeing that you're 24 years sober, there or thereabouts. So we're both pretty old timers in this recovery game. And I said this to someone recently: there's not many of us old timers around. How did you get sober? Where was that, in England or was that in America? And how the fuck did you end up in America, in Dallas?
I got sober. I was on the streets, homeless, lost everything, my kids and everything. I was on the streets for about 14 months. Had a huge spiritual awakening where I met somebody in strange circumstances that led me to somebody in strange circumstances, like some kind of angel. So that's where my recovery started, around about 1988, I think it was. I'm not sure. But I came over here for 2 weeks because, when the internet was new, a chat things you could go in. So I found a chat room, and it was a Christian chat room, and I met this girl, and she was a big player in a church in Plano outside Dallas, and they asked me to come over and speak for 2 weeks to their youth ministry, big crack cocaine, in the affluent area of Plano. So I came over, and I just knew, Stu, when I landed, I knew I'd never go back. And my opportunities started from there. Within 4 weeks of being here, I got a DVD offer from a production company about addiction that just was sold in every treatment center and recovery center through America. So I got paid quite a lot of money for that and decided that's just about 5 years of what I would earn back home. So I'm staying here. So I stayed. I just started from there, got my psychology license transferred over, which was a nightmare, but it did. And then just started small. I started working free of charge with people first of all, and then my house was foreclosed on or repossessed, say in England. Nobody helped me. So I'm like, well, fuck you. First of all, I'm going to start charging. So I did. I started charging, and the rest is history. We have a bunch of people who are therapists and coaches, but today I work with the A-list guys, the movie stars and the footballers and the musicians. Because they want me, obviously. So I tend to do that. But I love America, man. I do.
So how long you been there? So that was in
18 years. I've been here.
Gee, bloody hell.
14 in Dallas, Texas, and then we moved to San Antonio, which is about a 4-hour drive from Dallas, Texas, and we lived in San Antonio for the last 4 years, and it's beautiful, man. I have a dream life. No doubt.
Well, I was going to say that you're working in a field that you love. You're working in addiction. You're working with people on a daily basis that you're helping to get clean and sober. That's fucking beautiful, isn't it? In itself, that by itself's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want for anything. I don't need for anything. We have everything we want, everything we need. But yeah, it's the working with people. I'm more of a neuroscientist today than anything else, and a behavioral scientist. That's my second PhD in behavioral science. So yeah, alcohol and addiction is not what people think it is. It's not drinking too much alcohol or taking too many drugs. Alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism. So with the studying we've done, it makes me the number one guy. So I'm the guy that writes for Harvard University, which is a a hospital attached to Harvard University. We do a TV show over here. We've got books over here. I'm kind of the leading guy when it comes to alcoholism and addiction because it's not about the alcohol.
No, it's about thinking, yeah?
Yeah, it's all about neuroscience today. It's like why could I never stop drinking was my first day. Why did I lose my kids? And why couldn't I just go to the doctor and he'd give you something or tell me? Because nobody knew about it. So the more we delved in over the years to the neuroscience, the childhood trauma, the more we found out how the brain works. And alcoholics and drug addicts are slightly different. Alcoholics are born, drug addicts are made. And what I mean by that is the alcoholic has three parts of the brain that differ from any other addiction, and we have the allergy. So I'm allergic to the ethanol in alcohol, not so much the alcohol. And there's a few things happens prior to the drink, whereas the drug addict has the addictive personality. Both show up the same, both the same deal, both the same treatment to heal from that. But the more we found out about that, the more people started healing. And we have a 97% success rate, unheard of. And the closest is 9%, I think. Because
Yeah, listen. There's a couple of points that you mentioned. Then one of them I want to touch on, which I agree with, that the alcoholic is born and the addict is made. I agree with that. So there's a question in that for me to you is that so is the addict an alcoholic and they don't know it?
alcoholics are born. It's a predisposition passed down. It's generational. Addicts are not. But I don't know one addict that didn't start with a drink on any relapse. And I don't know one alcoholic that didn't start with a pill. So when I say present the same, yeah, it's kind of the same, but it does differ with the neuroscience behind it. Like if you have the gene of alcoholism from father, grandfather, whatever, that you're fucked. Whereas if you start taking drugs with addictive personality and you like it, and one of the conclusions we came to about it, because it's a pretty strong statement, but it's backed up by 30 years experience and 8,000 patients down the line, is A, there's a difference. B, the brains are slightly different. But yeah, they both present. But yeah, to the normal eye, it's all the same. So when people go, oh, it's all the same, it's kind of not when it comes to biochemicals and neuroscience and the neurochemicals and the way the basal ganglia, hypothalamus, and the amygdala work. But yeah, for layman's terms, we're fucked if we don't get
Yeah,
help.
yeah,
We will
yeah.
die.
So you had your PhD whilst you was in active alcoholism. So did you study anything about alcoholism whilst practicing alcoholic?
Well, back in the day, kind of in the late 80s, I nobody knew about alcoholism, so known to a certain extent. But when I started to suffer from, when I started studying psychology and found out there were alcoholics all over the place in my family that nobody told me about because nobody spoke about it, the more I started to think about, hey, there's something more going on here with everything, because everyone has an addiction and everybody suffers from childhood trauma. It's just alcoholics and addicts are more sensitive to the trauma. But yeah, I just got really interested in it, and then after when I become homeless, I'm like, I'm a smart guy. I've made something in my life. I was a big guy, bodybuilder, fighter, aggression. I was all a doorman. It was all that game, but I couldn't beat the alcohol, which kind of. So when I left college, homeless, and back, that's when I started to really look. And this was my defining moment, Stu. I'm outside a liquor store while I'm homeless. I have a vest on. English will know this. Over it's different. I have a string vest on, pair of shorts, and a pair of flip flops. It's 5:30 in the morning. It's snowing, and I'm sweating profusely. So I know quite well if I don't get alcohol inside my body within the hour or get to hospital, I'm probably going to die. When I was like this, but the Pakistani guy with the corner shop, God bless him, he knew who I was. Not who I was personally, but he knew I was an alcoholic. He
Yeah,
knew
yeah.
he must have alcoholics in his family because he used to let me in at 5:30. The newsagent stroke liquor store. And I remember this one morning I went in and I couldn't even hold the money. I was shaking that much, my banging headache, I'm sweating. I can't put sentences together. And I put the £10 on the counter, you put the bottle on the counter, and this was my reaction.
Mm,
Headache went, sweats went, great mood, shaking stopped instantly. And I remember
yeah,
looking at the guy and looking at the back of the bottle, and I thought, fuck, it's not about the alcohol. And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
where it started for me,
And
to
that's where it
delve in more
started.
about what it's about.
So did you drink again after that?
Oh, fuck yeah. I was still on the streets. Like
You see,
I tried
okay.
to get well so many times after that, and I kept relapsing. And relapsing, and it was more studying than anything else, and more experience of, if you go to a 12-step room, let's say AA, which only 5-6% of people that go to AA are actually alcoholics, and the same with NA. The rest are just fucking bullshit. You want to stop drinking or drink too much, or the wife sent them. There is a way out. But if you go to AA on your first day and stop drinking day one, you're not a fucking alcoholic, guys. I'm sorry, but alcoholism is the only self-diagnosed illness in the world, first of all. Secondly, I don't care if you've got DWIs. I don't care if the doctor says you had. No one can diagnose you as alcoholic. So I see so many people. I used to travel the world speaking on behalf of AA as a speaker. And I'll tell you now, at any one time, in any country, in any meeting, only 85-90% of people are there and not real alcoholic, and about 10% are. So the problem we found with AA is people like me will go into AA and getting taught by these guys that weren't alcoholics. So they couldn't understand why I would stab someone in the face for a bottle of vodka, and they wouldn't do that. So there's been
Yeah.
a shift in the way we teach in AA. That now I've got to preempt to this. After studying psychology, after studying neuroscience, behavioral science, everything there is to do with addiction, the best book I have ever read in my life pertaining to the recovery of alcoholics and addicts is the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. They were
Yeah, man.
years ahead of themselves, years ahead of themselves.
I've not got your background in studying in education. I've lived the life of an alcoholic, but I do know that the big book, I can agree, is years ahead of itself, because the fundamental basics of it's a program designed to change the way you think, yeah, and then the way you think, how to process your thoughts, and then how to live. And that's the way I look at the program that's in the book. But the issues I've had with that is that that's been watered down over the years by people, isn't it? The message is diluted to fuck. And
Yeah.
I'm a big strong believer in if somebody comes into the fellowship, the program's there. It doesn't need to take 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 10 weeks, 8 weeks. Like, do you know what I mean? 2 years, 4 years. Let's smash through this program. Let's have that spiritual awakening and get on the journey of recovery.
Well, this is what the AA book. There's loads of stuff in there, but the AA book says that when we have a psychic change, which today is the neuroplasticity, it's changed the way we think, the neural pathways,
Yep.
and a spiritual awakening, then we've recovered. So recovered means again one's health and state of mind. It doesn't mean cured. But what we found out today in neuroscience, and the reason why so many 97% success rate over in Akron when it first came out, is they took no shit. And what we found today is when we have a spiritual awakening, there's something with the mind, which is energy, the mind over matter. The brain is matter. So the mind connects with some sort of energy, whatever you want to call that, Uncle Jimmy, God, whatever you want to. When we have a psychic change, changing our pathways, and a spiritual recovery, a spiritual experience, our DNA changes. What the fuck? Our DNA changes. Why is that important? AA, it's it again. We're not the same man. We're a different man. We've been reborn. How did they know this back in the day?
Mate,
It's mind blowing to me. But
powerful.
people don't read it. People read it, the 12 steps. What does step one say? We're all powerless over alcohol. It doesn't say that.
No.
It doesn't say that. It said we admitted we were. If you keep telling yourself you're powerless over alcohol, guess what? You're going to drink.
You're gonna
We
fucking drink.
were
Exactly that.
powerless.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I ain't powerless over that shit today. I passed 4 liquor stores on the way to the office today. How the fuck can I be powerless over that shit? But you start thinking that, and the mind will pick that up, and therefore become.
No, listen, I'm on your page, and it's like, I listen to some people sometimes who would tell me that that today they're in recovery, and what they do is they try to stay away from a drink and a drug, and I think, what the fuck? I don't believe since I started working that program I've ever tried to stay away from a drink or a drug, which a drink is a drug, anyway. I've never tried to stay away because I've had that psychic change, and my thought process is different. I'm a different man.
Yeah, I mean, if you're white knuckling this, or if you can't go where alcohol's served, or if you're just trying to get through, you're not recovered. What you're doing is
No,
living in fucking hell. That's hell on earth. The
that is hell.
compulsion to drink will be taken away. I mean, there's 162 promises in the first 164. There's 350 God words. It mentions recover 29 times. It mentions recover 17 times, and they only says it in recovery and to the wives and the employers. So why don't we start taking notice of this? Once we start telling somebody something, they're going to believe it. 90 meters in 90 days, not even an AA thing. It's a judge from Adam. It's like, you've got to do a meeting every day. It says meetings are never going to keep you sober. Meeting is to meet other people, like-minded people. Like, no human power can relieve my alcohol. Fuck can you do to me? You can't do anything for me apart from point me in the right direction and walk me through this process. What is this? The book says we do the program in 2 days, 1 to 5. Next we
Yeah,
launched into, and when we get to step 5, it says go home.
yeah, man.
Go
Yeah,
home and then
go
come
home.
back and then fucking do the rest. It's like, we'll do a step a month. But if somebody says to you guys, first of all, if someone offers to be your sponsor, get rid of him. Don't do that. And secondly, well, there's going to be a step a month because that's the way I did. Fuck that off. Oh, this is where my sponsor taught. No, fuck that off. Have you read the book? Have you had a spiritual awakening? Fuck you sober. I don't give a shit how long you're sober. I know guys are weak sobriety when they come to our meeting. A week that I would trust in my freaking life. And guys with 50 years sobriety that are miserable and fucked up. No, not for me. Not for me.
No, do you know what, Rob? You're 100%, and I'm sitting here smiling because I feel blessed because my sponsor that I met 19 years ago in the fellowship spoke exactly like you've just spoke then. Yeah, he spoke the facts from the big book, and as they should have been told to me as a man who never knew nothing. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know nothing, and he didn't give me his opinion. He gave me the facts that are in the book, and I feel blessed that he did because I am recovered, and I always tell people I'm recovered. One day at a time. You know what I mean? I've got a reprieve from my illness. I'm recovered. It ain't in my mind.
And that you look at that word reprieved, it means a stay of execution. So that 24 hours, the reason why it is, and it's way before AA, is 3 parts of the brain reset every 24 hours. So that's
Yeah,
why
yeah,
it was one day at a time in the early, well before AA came along. It's like, yeah, we get 24 hours. And then between the hours, on a normal circadian rhythm sleep pattern, between the hours of 2 and 5 is when the body is in most repair. It's also when most people die of natural causes. So when we get up the next morning, we have to do the same every day. We have to get oxygen in. We have to do our teeth work, mirror work, as we call it, changing your pathways, say something nice about yourself, walk out the door as if you're going to kill the day. Because quantum physics backs this up. You know, if I tell myself it's going to be okay, if I tell myself I might not get that job, if I have a plan B, guess what? It's not going to work. The internal dialogue with alcoholics and addicts is very strong. Drop a pen on the floor. Oh, you idiot.
yeah.
Whoa. Stop doing that shit, guys, because you're going to start to believe it. That's where the childhood trauma comes in, or step 4 and 5 just doesn't go deep enough. Is like what
That's
people.
what I was going. Yeah, sorry, I've got to jump in there. I've got to jump in there, Rob. That childhood trauma. With I think you touched on it 2 or 3 times, and I was going to ask you this question. As much as the 12 steps was way before its time, and we're both on the same page, that it's fantastic. I don't know whether it's equipped enough to look at childhood trauma. What's your view on that?
It's true. I mean, we don't have the capability. There's lots of amateur part-time freaking therapists in AA.
Yeah,
But at the end of the story, we don't have the knowledge in 12-step meetings to go as deep as you need to go. So
no,
yeah, that's the stuff. And the other thing you have to remember as well is when you say childhood trauma and people are going, oh yeah, I've not got any trauma. First of all, every alcoholic and addict and anybody else in the world has childhood trauma.
yeah.
Whatever, you've got to find out what that looks like. So whether it be a comment, how many times you, Robert, have I told you can't go to brother? Your colleagues like your brother, you're too stupid. Or whether it's, well, we live in a $10 million house, but I don't really see that because he's away working. I only see him once a week. Childhood trauma, abandonment, shame, remorse. It's all built in. It's the gateway drug. It really is the gateway. Unless you sort that shit out, you're going to relapse because the basal ganglia takes care of that. There's a default setting with us that defaults. So if you imagine it's a repetition strength and confirms the basal ganglia. If you imagine a clock face, 10 after we get sober, 20 after the wife comes back, get back in the kids, get back in the house, and 10 to the hour, we fucking self-sabotage.
Yeah,
And
man.
we've no idea why. You ask anybody, why did you relapse? They won't be able to give you one reason. They'll give you 1,000 excuses, but not one reason, because the hypothalamus is telling them to drink alcohol and not drink food and water. And when your
Yeah,
brain is telling you that, you have no choice. So unless that's sorted out, if you're a real alcoholic, like me and you will fucking always relapse. If you can go to one meeting and stay sober, you're not an alcoholic. But hey, if you have a desire to stop drinking, go to them meetings. They're awesome. You know, get the serotonin and everything and the oxytocin with intimate, like-minded people. But you just got to be careful what you listen to in them rooms because everything said is their opinion. But you know something, Stu? My fucking opinion will kill you. Simple as
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And
yeah. I
I'm
get
really
that.
careful about that.
Yeah, you're right. We have, and like the reason why this podcast launched last year, late last year, it was only October, and it come out of nowhere really as well. Is that if you've got people, it's a different world. I'm 19 years, you're 24. It's a different world now, and I look and I think there's so many people who don't want to go in the fellowship, right? And and some people have gone to the fellowship who can't get nothing from it, from the reasons that you've just mentioned, as well, and they ain't got money to go into treatment. But everyone's watching YouTube, watching this, watching shorts, and I thought, right, so if we can get a message out there of recovery to people, it might spark something. Do you know what I mean? It might save a life. That's the way I look at it. And getting people like yourself on to share your truth is powerful.
Yeah, it is. And that's why I like this podcast. We did some research, obviously, for company approach to, and it's raw and it's truth. And you're an amazing guy, an amazing podcaster, and your life experience. Guys, I'd like to say in this clever, and I'm sat here as Dr. Robb Kelly, but I ain't this fucking clever. 95% of what I teach came from my experience. You don't need a fucking doctorate or anything to do what I do, because you can go to as many universities or colleges as you want. You can't do this shit. If you haven't been through it, you can't help people treat what they're going through. You can't do it. So, people often go, I wish I was as educated as you. It's got fuck all to do with this. This is what I thought was a nightmare. What I thought was God was putting me through, the homelessness and the loss. What I hated everybody for when I was homeless, I look back at it now. It's like a semester at Harvard University. The shit that I learned on the street. Oh, what do you know, Doctor? You've never been stabbed? Check. You never lost your kids? Check. You never been raped? Check. All that shit I stuff on the street.
Yeah.
Fucking love that shit today. Because people need an identification with another person. Like if let's say two mechanics met in a pub, you didn't know each other, but they met. They got a common thread. The mirroring part of the brain's going to pick that up, and they've got so much to talk about in common. So if you haven't been through this shit, but you have a Harvard degree, what the fuck can you do to me? You can't tell me I'm going to stab. I stabbed my wife 3 times one night, Stu, because she wouldn't let me finish my bottle of vodka. Hey, Mr. Harvard, fucking dissect that and let me know what I'm going through. You haven't got a clue. But you know something? When I say it to you, Stu, you probably can't. I'd do exactly the same if I was in that position.
Rob, I'm sitting here thinking, like, there is nothing that you can tell me that will shock me that you've done within your alcoholism or that happened to you within your alcoholism. It can't ever shock me. And, I have this thing where you've got, and I have this chat, and I'm in and out of it, but I feel like, you've got local drug and alcohol services in all towns, and I know they're there for a purpose. And I was having this chat with a counsellor the other day, and I don't know what percentage of the makeup of the guys that work within those services are trained professionals without any life experience. It's high, and I've got a problem with it.
I believe in treatment centres. Treatment centres have a 3 to 5% success rate. Where's your money where your mouth is? If you're taking little Johnny in 2 or 3 times a go at 30 grand a month, what the fuck are you teaching him? You know what we have? Now, we do 2 things that are unheard of and nobody else in the world does. First of all, we take you in and we have to have an assessment. You can't buy our services. Secondly, if you relapse years after while still following our program, I'll refund your money. And
Really?
thirdly, we're the only person that people that do that. Why?
Is that genuine? Yeah, that's 100%.
That's what we do. Yeah, we refund your money. As long as you're following the program we taught you, you can't just fucking stop doing this, and relapse.
Yeah.
You continue doing it. And we know, because we check in every 6 months with you, I'll give you your money back. People are always ready because of the assessment. But what it means is somewhere you stop doing something that's affected. And say I relapse on the Friday, let's look at the Friday before. The relapse is not when I pick that drink up. The relapse is here when you start getting pissed off with somebody, you cause an argument with somebody, you stub your toe, you miss. That's where it starts. What the fuck are you not doing that we taught you to do? Otherwise, is a money back guarantee. And over 30 years, with 8,000 patients, not one has come back to us and said, hey, I'm relapsed. And I kept doing what I did. No, you fucking didn't. It's impossible. It's impossible.
Hello, guys. Hope you're enjoying this week's episode. Just a quick break here. I want to ask you a big favour. If you are enjoying the show, enjoying the episode, enjoying the podcast, can you please subscribe, please like, please share? I just want to let you know how important that is. The bigger this channel gets, the more people that see it, means that we can affect people's sobriety in a positive way, their addiction recovery. We might change a life, we might save a life. Enjoy the rest of the episode. Thank you. Okay, so when you do that assessment, this is the key thing, because they've got to be ready and they've got to want it, because otherwise it ain't working, is it?
No, I mean, we turned Britney Spears down for $1 million, probably 15 years ago in Dallas, Texas, because she wasn't ready. Next day, she's in the paper shaving all her head and shit. I will go to any lengths to put you off coming here. I will call you a freaking non-alcoholic. What the fuck are you doing? Wasting your parents' money. If you're in the office, I'll go something like, hey, listen, I've got a few Percocet, in the drawer in there. Let's both take one and start Monday. You need to go, oh, okay, great, he's out. Go to the parent. I mean, we're just careful who we take. We're not after anybody's money. If we can't guarantee to loved ones that you can fully recover and have an amazing life, then we ain't taking you. We do a lot more than other people do, and we do it right. Like I say,
Talk to me about the program, Rob. Talk to me
yeah.
about it. How long were guys in for?
Well, today it's a 90-day program, a telehealth, 1 hour a day, every single day, 5 days with me, 2 days with my psychotherapist, and with repetition strength, and we're changing. We use neuroscience, brain spotting, neuro
Yeah.
linguistic programming, psychology, all this great stuff to get you well. After the 90 days, you have a step down to 2 days a week, and then 1 day a week, and then you're out. So during that time, what we actually do, again in layman's terms, is we rewire the brain patterns. We rewire how you think so that the compulsion to drink has been taken away. And if it doesn't get taken away, we won't take you on. If we don't see that in your desperation to honestly want to come on and work this program. And there's loads more to it, Stu. Like you have to check in 4 times a day via text. You have to do your homework. Accountability. Well, listen. If you're over here in Texas and you come in face to face and I see there's something wrong, I will have a private detective fucking follow you and see what you're doing wrong. It's simple.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
go
yeah.
to any lengths beyond. We don't. Money is not the issue over here. Yeah, I was homeless, I was broke for a long time, I was doing this, but today money's not the issue and never was. Do you want to get well? Are you going to
Mm-hmm.
give 100% to doing this program? Well, I can do Monday and Tuesday, but Wednesdays, bye,
Yeah, I get that. I
bye.
get that. I get that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you got to protect you. You got to protect the program that you've
Yes.
developed as well. You got to, haven't you? Because you know if that gets watered down, if that gets filtered down by people not wanting to do it, it's going to. Well, one, it's going to hinder you, but it's obviously it's going to hinder others who will look at it later on in the line and go, "Well, that don't fucking work. I ain't doing that," and it does work.
Yeah, it 100% does work, but yeah, you're right. And it's you're the only person that's ever said that to me. But it's about protecting our percentage rate, and
Yeah, mate.
we get calls, we check on people regularly. We have records going back like I don't know over here 18 years, about people how they're doing for years and years after. So they think we're being all nice and kind, calling them up. What we're doing is checking our fucking records to make
Yeah.
sure he's still sober. So we track them for about 12 months, and if someone's really struggling, 2 years, but. And when I say really struggling, still got trauma that's still messing with them today that they haven't told us about. Most people won't tell you deepest thoughts because they think they're the only ones going through it. And guys, if you're sat at home and you're thinking that, you're wrong. If you're sat in a one-bedroom apartment somewhere, the furniture's gone because you've sold it for drugs, alcohol, the wife's left you, you're not seeing your kids anymore, and you think you never amount to anything, you think you'll never be any good at anything, I want to apologize to you because somebody's fucking put that there. We're born with $1 million minds, guys. Why are we hanging around with 10-cent minds? Babies are born with two fears: the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. The rest are man made. Wait till your
Yeah.
father gets old. Or if you do that, how many times have I told you so? You can't stand your own business. Fucking hell, go work at Tesco. We get told that shit, so we follow that shit. It's wrong. Totally wrong.
No, I agree. I agree. And you know, it's just, yeah, I'm a little bit then when you was explaining that, and we are born with two fears. I've heard that before, and it's like I was talking to a fella today actually, who's street homeless, has been on for a long time, been on a script by one of these services for a long time as well. Come off it himself a few weeks ago, but now smoking crack 2, 3, 4 times a week, whatever it might be. And he said to me earlier that he sold his ring yesterday. I said, "How much did you get for it?" He said, "2 bags of crack." Right, and I looked at him, and we just had this minute where we had this look, and I'm like, someone's told him that he ain't fucking worth a carrot, right? At some
Right.
point, repetitively, because you can see it in his eyes. You can see it in his eyes, and it was painful because I have these chats with him, and I don't know whether it sinks in or don't sink in. It doesn't feel like it does at the minute, but it was really emotional and painful to see, and you can tell we don't want to do it. Do you know what I mean? But he's doing it.
It's horrible. A lot of that is learned behavior and enmeshment from caregivers as we grow up, and then we take that first drug, and we just go down and down and down. But I'm telling you guys, I don't care how far you've gone, I don't care where you're living, what your circumstances are. There's a way out, and there's a fantastic way out. And then
Mm.
what happens when you recover from that bullshit is I signed an office deal when I was in Dallas for $1 million. And my guys around me like, are you insane? How do you, a million, and this was like 15 years ago, a million, how do you sleep at night? And my answer is this, what the fuck can they do to me that I haven't already done to myself? What?
Yeah.
What, they're going to take Christmas off me? They're going to take the office? Big deal. So you then start to take chances in life. We don't build businesses, guys. We build fucking empires. Why build a business? You got a website and a business card. Big deal. Build fucking empires. Take it to the limit. How far can you take this shit? I think that every day. Could I charge this? Can I charge this $150,000 a month for? Can I do it? Fuck yeah, you can do it. It's all laid out. I mean, you can do anything you want to do. The mind tells us this, but we don't listen.
Yeah.
We work off
You,
learned behavior.
do you feel that the addict, the alcoholic, has got? They've all got a similar mind. I've had a few chats. I've had a lot of chats actually, but I've had quite a few recently with the link between ADHD and addiction. So where do you sit with that?
ADHD is kind of not ADHD, is an overload of the brain. Because that's how I like to
Yeah.
look at it. Most people that suffer from ADHD are not suffering. They go to the doctor, get amphetamine salts over it's called Adderall, and they try and get normal again. So there's still tests. I'm not qualified right now because we're still testing because ADHD only become popular in the last 10 years. So yeah, there are connections, and there are connections to addictions and lots of other stuff, trauma stuff, and day-to-day stuff that we go through. Our actions, our illnesses, our depression. I mean, this is what happens over issue. Someone's depressed, and they go to the doctor. They go, "Hey doc, I'm depressed." He goes, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. What's happening is I'm going to give you these pills. You're going to take it. Go on." What the doctor's actually saying is, first of all, I'm going to give you a pill that you need to be in for the rest of your life. So the pharmaceutical company has got you for the rest of your life. Okay, first of all. Secondly, yeah, life will be a bit better. It'll be okay. What they're not telling you, first of all, why the fuck is my serotonin low in the first place? Okay, like a sunlight socializing. Why is it low in the first place? And when you take an SSRI, what happens is with our own serotonin, this comes in and blocks it. So this now medication. So our serotonin naturally will never go higher than this pill I'm taking. Nobody talks about that. So there's loads of other things that's happening that can be cured by physically and mentally knowing what you're about and how your brain. You see, there's four chemicals: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. We need every day to be happy. But what people don't tell you is dopamine and serotonin. Yes, serotonin and dopamine are produced in the gut. So if you're
Yeah,
eating
I heard this.
every single fucking day, then have a guess what? You're only on 45% of your capability.
Okay. Yeah. So if they're produced in you, so I'm just sitting here thinking, could this be related to childhood traumas as well? Then.
Million percent.
Yeah.
See what you
Yeah.
go through today. See, when we look at the bioscience and the chemical science in a human body, here's what people get into. Well, I have heart problems because it's in the family. Or I have inflammation of the knee. It's not in the fucking family. Okay, there's something. Do your blood work. Get your deep blood work. There's something that you've been eating or doing over the years that's been passed on by father to you. So let's say you have chips every night because you can't afford it like we did. Something in that fit with saturated fat, with all the shit that's put in the oil and all that stuff that produces the inflammation. You cannot physically pass one illness to the other. It's not right. It's something we're doing. Get the blood work. Get the deep blood work done. MTHR. Find out what your MTHR levels are like, and you'll find out that the same levels as your father that you think passed that depression down to you. It's not right, but we follow the medical advice, and I'm telling you now categorically, guys. And you can fucking come at me with anything you want, and I've got the evidence. Is the medical fraternity don't know shit about alcoholism and addiction. They don't know nothing about it. I lecture to high profile doctors in Texas about alcoholism. I go to big universities and lecture at medical schools about alcoholism. Why? Because they don't know anything. So if you go to the doctor and he tries to stick you on something, get a second opinion. The doctor's not always right.
No, they're not always right. And I think it goes back to what we were saying 10, 15 minutes ago, that if you're trying to get advice and help and assistance from somebody who's not suffered from what you're suffered from, how the fuck can they help you? Because
No.
you can't. It's not possible. It's not possible. And I've had that experience here in the UK. I think I was 10 years in recovery. I felt depressed. I'm talking to the doctor. I probably went there because I knew he'd offer me a pill without even me asking, and he did. And I took them, for about 2 weeks, and then aimed them in the bin because I thought, nah, this ain't a bit of me. But they do. They give them out willy nilly. They didn't ask me what my diet was like. They didn't ask me what my exercise was like. They didn't ask me, do I want to go and see a therapist, a counsellor? They didn't ask me any of those things. None of them.
No, it's
So
crazy. You
that's
know,
dangerous, isn't it?
it is. Well, especially when the brain doesn't know the difference between pharmaceutical drugs and street drugs.
Yeah, yeah,
You can't.
yeah,
Now, listen, guys, I'm being serious here. If you're the real drug addict or alcoholic, the real one, you can't take drugs to cure a drug addiction. You can't take drugs to heal drug addiction. What you can do is use tapers to get off it. So you go on Suboxone, for
yeah,
instance,
yeah,
which is like heroin, and then you taper off over 3 months. But you can't take that and still, I've recovered from drug addiction, or you're taking these heavy meds, and I don't mean depression. It's totally different. If you're on meds now, stay on them. I'm not a medical doctor and PhD, but it's impossible. You can't do it because you will relapse. And I see now again. Most people are coming to our offices on a staunch heroin addict, staunch heroin addiction, started in the doctor's office. 90%. Think about that for a second. 90%
90%.
of people. 90. So there's obviously a fucking problem.
Yeah.
I,
Do you know what? I watched a documentary. It was in the States a couple of months back. You just reminded me of it, and it was about doctors prescribing. I can't even remember what the drug was, but it was for pain relief. It was for back pains. It was for this, that, and the other, and it led on to so many thousands of people with to a heroin addiction. Is this what we're talking about here?
yeah, oxytocin is probably what it
That's
is,
it.
or fentanyl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
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 you take
yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff and you can't. What happens over here is they willy nilly hand it out. We went to 5 psychiatrists for prescriptions. Four didn't look up from at me. No one made eye contact. They just wrote a script straight away and give it to me. I can't concentrate. There's some amphetamine salts. He'd give me to that. But yeah, 100%. It's
Mm.
just it's crazy how we need to start looking. First of all, what we're putting in our body, and secondly, you're only going to be acting on 45 to 50% of your capability while you're walking around these drugs. Again, the chemical balance, there's an imbalance. So if you can't get your serotonin high, unless you have a brain disease or something, immune system that's stopping it raising naturally, then you obviously need it. If you don't get off these tapered drugs, then you're still tired. And eventually what happens over here is the doctor cuts you off because it's really being scrutinized now. And what you do is you have to go to the streets to get it, or you have to order from China, and you will die eventually. You're not going to be able to come off that shit on your own. It's impossible.
Fuck you know.
I know,
That's
right? It's shocking. No doctor wants you to get well, really. I will never go, Stu, to a medical doctor for my general health ever again. Fucking never. Now I'll go because I break an arm or something. Obviously, go to the
yeah,
hospital.
yeah.
Talk about my daily stuff, everything's to do with depression. Then I will never go back there. What the fuck? They're pushing the latest drug because they've got a nice holiday in Jamaica for 2 weeks off the pharmaceutical company.
Yeah.
Fuck that. They don't know shit.
I'm on the same page. I can't remember the last time I see my doctor, GP,
No.
whatever you call it. Unless, like you say, unless there's a broken bone or anything like that, then I've got to go. But no,
And
I've got
again, no disrespect to
no
doctors.
faith.
There's great treatment centres out there that we love. There's a bunch that are not. There's a bunch of dodgy doctors out there. There are some good. But at the end of the day, if a doctor gives you something, it's never going to cure it. Think about it. Anybody out there listens to it, have you ever taken a pill that's cured what you've gone there for and stopped taking that pill because it's cured it? No, never. Unheard of. Why? Because the pharmaceutical company run America and probably Britain by now, but they run America.
Yeah, I'd say
Nothing
so.
happens
Yeah.
without their say so.
You're very outspoken, right? Which I like because I hear your passion, yeah, which is what I've got as well. You fit in America, I'm assuming, because you've got quite a lot of outspoken, passionate people in the States, yeah. My question to you is: do you run this service in the UK, or would you ever run this service in the UK? And could you facilitate that from where you are in the States as well?
We do that already. We have 5 offices
You do.
around the world, telehealth. We have one in Manchester, one in London, one in Switzerland, one in Spain, and
Oh
and
wow!
the one in Dallas, Texas. So yeah, we
I
already
didn't
do
know.
that already. So yeah, of course you can. Yeah, we have 2 patients right now from England.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah, you see, you don't need to be sat in front of somebody. Well, the reason why we got into Zoom 6 years for anybody else is if you turn up for an appointment in the office, you've shaved, you've showered, you've got a nice jacket on, you've got sterilized shoes on, you walk into an office, you're all scared, you're nervous. When we started seeing people in their own environment, which is where you've got to recover, you can't recover in a treatment center and expect everything to be okay. You've got to do it as daily things and problems arise. You've got to do it in your own. But the barrier goes to you straight away. That
Yeah.
barrier take you a month to get through to the real hard questions. They're probably dressed in a nice t-shirt, pajamas, and slippers. They're really laid back, and you can get psychologically more in to the subliminal brain like that on Zoom. And Zoom is one of the very few programs that's HIPAA compliant over here, which is like a medical compliance that everybody has to comply to in the medical field. So yeah,
Okay.
we've been doing this for years, man.
So how does it work if one of your clients needs a detox, and how does that work?
We have detoxes in every city in the places where we have offices. So our Manchester
Right.
office probably has 5 detoxes. They will pick you up, they'll take you into the detox, they'll give you detox for 3 days, 5 days if it's some kind of drug that takes longer, and then you go back home. Okay, and
And
then we
then you
start
work the
treating you
program.
at home. You see, the problem is, and again, loads of treatment centres out there that are good. I've never found one apart from 3 we've worked with. But let's say the two houses. Okay, let's say here's where the suffering alcoholic is. And when I say alcoholic, I mean any addiction, food, cake, sex. Okay, and here's our treatment centre. So let's say, for instance, this family is dysfunctional, but let's say they speak German. Okay, what society says is we're going to pick that guy speaking German out of the family house and we're going to put him over in. Now, recovery has its own language, so let's say it's English. So after their 30 days, they pick this English speaking guy, or we stick him back into the German speaking house. And guess what's going to happen? It's going to start speaking German again. So what we are is when we work with the family must do 2 days a week, period. Otherwise, we will not take the patient. What happens is we teach the family to speak English. So when the guy is at home, they're all on the same page. When we looked at alcoholics and addicts recovery rate, uh, when the wives and husbands and loved ones do 2 days a week for a 3 month period with us, the success rate of the alcoholic and addict went up by 42%. Like you get a family day in a treatment centre and they go and they bash Johnny. Oh yeah, he used to do this. Well, ask Johnny how he feels about that. How do you feel about it? Fuck off.
Fuck
That
off, yeah.
doesn't what? When wives come in here, they go, okay, let me tell you. Go, stop. This isn't about the husband. This is about you. Well, I'm not suffering from it. Well, you're suffering from his trauma. No. I'm good. I'm good. Okay. Well, answer me this question. Why do you let your husband come home 2 or 3 times a week and physically abuse you in front of the children? Why?
Yeah.
People stay in relationships, abusive relationship, way too long. He's like, here's the best piece of advice I could ever give anyone. You don't like your job? Get a fucking another job. You don't like your wife? Get another fucking wife. It's a simple. Oh, it's not that simple. It really is.
It is that simple. Yeah, you're
Because I
right.
would
It
hate
is.
anybody out there to be 60, 70 years old and go, I've been miserable most of my life because I didn't want to really change it. You can't change people around you, but you can change people around you. That's the
Mm.
bottom line.
That is the bottom line. And that is about inner honesty, isn't it? It's always got to start with inner honesty.
Yeah. I'll just ask yourself a question. What are you worth?
Yeah.
That's all you got. Are you worth staying in a 1 bedroom apartment with a wife that fucking hates you with a dead end job you don't like? You get another dead end job if you want. Why not start that business? Why not break up, move somewhere else? Why not move back with your mom and dad so you get your shit together? Just believe that anything you can do once you train the mind every morning, and I'll tell you what that is, guys, every morning. Change it. You can change your world, and people are scared to go there because they like patterns. It's like that's kids do, at school. We go to the seaside for the day. We get on the bus. We drive down to Blackpool. It's a great day. We get back on the bus. Which seat do you sit in? Same seat you travel there. We're talking about them tiny little patterns that add up, stopping you from breaking. So what we did to prove this is we got 1,000 fleas in a huge mason jar, or we call it a jam jar, and we put them in, got in front of the pet store, we screwed the cap on, we punched holes and all that shit, and fleas can jump 2 or 3 feet, but we kept them in there. After 3 days, we took the cap off. Not one flea jumped higher than where the cap was. Okay, learned behavior. We thought that was good, but when they had babies in that jar, the babies won't jump higher than where the cat was, and they've never even seen the fucking cat. So learned behavior and measurement dictates how you live your life and what you put up with today. Like a girl in a house, 6, 7, 8, 9, who sees dad come home, drunk and fights with mom and punches her, she'll end up leaving that house attracting the same guy because she thinks that's a normal, healthy relationship. Period.
Yeah. It's painful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is painful, especially when you
It's
see
fucking
somebody in
painful.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, people sometimes hate us too because I'll tell families that if you don't do it, you're going to fucking die. And secondly, if a woman comes up who's been abused on the alcohol, I'll say leave the house, get your kids and leave the house. Yeah,
yeah.
but
And do you
leave
know
the
what,
house.
Rob? I feel like it's my duty to talk like that and be honest, though. Do you not as well? It is, isn't it?
If we have been given this gift, because it's
Mm.
not about us, Stu.
No.
My old sponsor is an old son of a gangster in London. Really fucking hard guy. Done a lot of drinking and all that shit. And he always said to me, "It's not about you." I'm like, yeah, but I can't do. It's not about you. The fuck? What have you got to do with this?
Yeah.
Yeah, but get on that fucking phone. Go to that meeting. Go and meet somebody. Help somebody. Because I tell you what, Rob, while you keep relapsing, okay, and you keep doing this shit, there are millions of people dying that you were supposed to help. Like that, and talk to somebody, converse with somebody, smile at somebody, compliment somebody. There's a story around here was shocking for me. This guy, he was going to commit suicide, so he walked to the Golden Gate Bridge and he threw himself off and he was dead. So the police pulled him out, found out where he lived, went back to the apartment to search that, see what it's all about, and they found a letter on the kitchen table. And the letter read, I'm going to walk to the Golden Gate Bridge and throw myself off and commit suicide. Unless somebody on the way smiles at me, talks to me, then I'll turn around and come home. Let me ask you a question. How many fucking people have you walked past today on the way to the Golden Gate Bridge? How many fucking people are on their way and you don't know what they're going through? A smile, anything. I always tell my patients this: if you don't think this is true, next time you're in a built-up area of people, spot somebody with nice trainers or sneakers, and when they go past, say 3 words, nice sneakers. Hey man, nice sneakers. Oh, thanks, man. As he walks past you, turn around and look at him. He's going to look down at your sneakers at least 3 times. Now you've just changed his world. But guess what? Let's talk ripple effect. Now he goes home to the girlfriend or wife because he's in a good mood, she's in a good mood. Now mother-in-law calls, bum, bum, bum. You've just changed at least 10 people's world. So therefore you're changing the world on a daily basis for what? Hey, man, nice sneakers.
Yeah, do you know what? I love that. And do you know what? I feel like, yeah, you've made me think since I've been in recovery, since I've been recovered, I feel like it's my mission to talk to everyone and anyone I meet and see. And I do it. You know, I don't think about it. I just do it. I love doing it. I love having conversations with strangers or people that I've seen before, whatever it might be. Nice conversations. Do you know what I mean? And do you know, I feel blessed because when I do that, even with a stranger, even if I'm over the park with my little girl, they open up. People open up. They talk to you.
That's because they're not you're not used to. I love it. You start a conversation with somebody like you just said. It just you open up, you talk about shit. I'm the guy in the lift or the elevator, right? But in the morning, when everyone gets on. Yeah, hey guy, how we doing? Guy, we doing okay? Everyone's looking in different directions, thinking, "Shut the fuck up." I'm that guy. It's like I'm 62. I don't give a fuck anymore. So that's also on my side. But the quicker you realize that nobody gives a shit. Like when I used to go out with a bodybuilding, make sure my hair's right, make sure my jacket. I went in the door, everyone looking at me. Am I looking?
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody gives a shit. First
No,
of
mate.
all, you've opened the fucking door. That's why people are looking at you. Nobody cares. They've got their own shit going on. So why not talk to someone? Why not smile at somebody? Like I bless monetary because I can today when I leave the house every single day. I bless somebody monetary. And any other ways I can bless them. Every single day. I compliment 3 people every single way. Dopamine's released into my brain, good feel chemical. Dopamine's released into their brain, good feel chemical. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah,
You've
mate.
got to do this
Yeah,
shit, huh? People
yeah.
don't do it though.
That's a long cry away from where you come from 24 years ago, wherever it was when you got sober, isn't it? You wouldn't have thought like that then.
No, I mean, I was dead, man. I see a
Yeah,
lot of people today that they they kind of die at 30, but they don't get buried till they're 60.
yeah,
It's like
mate.
I was in that place of just hating everything in the world. But the bottom line is I hated myself,
Yeah.
and that's where
And
recovery lies.
yeah, and it's that. Do you know what? This is the thing. When people look at a step forward and then they start listing down who they resent, and they've got the mum, the dad, the brother, the sister, the cat, the dog, whoever it might be. Yeah. For me, and this is why I always mention this to people. You got to look at yourself. You've got to look at your resentments. You've got with yourself. You've got to start forgiving yourself, haven't you?
100%. I see when people sit down and step forward with me. which I very rarely do now because of my workload. You go, I'm resenting on my cat, my dog, and I go, stop. If you put anything down on that piece of paper that you've done before, that's not the fucking problem. What are you taking to the grave with you? And this one guy could never get sober, Stu. So many sponsors, so many people, and I started sponsoring. And I got in the room, we sat down, and I sat there for like 20 minutes, not speaking a word. And I said to him, "What keeps you awake at night? What's the one thing you never told anybody?" Turns out, one of his fucking friends pissed him off, battered him or something. He stabbed him to death, took him to a pig farm. The fucking pigs ate him. That's what was keeping him awake, man. Once he told that, the relief, I could see the relief coming off him. Still sober today. What the fuck are you taking to the grave with you?
Yeah.
Listen, I don't want to say this, but I kind of got molested. Everybody was fucking molested back in the day. I was molested. It's not a shameful thing. And then I get the other one I get is, especially with women, when I was raped when I was 4. How can that be my problem or my fault? Oh, my dear, it's not your fault. But what is your fault is not fucking telling somebody this way before you're 62 now. Why don't you get this shit out when you should have done? It's like, find a closed mouth person. The book says, I love that. Not somebody who blabs around. Find that person who's a real alcoholic, been through the book. Fuck if he has a sponsor. It doesn't make any difference. He's working with people. And when they walk in the room, you go, I want what he has. Find that guy. Okay. And I got another human being. Tell him that shit. Cross it off your list and get on with your fucking life.
It's getting that faith and it's getting that courage, isn't it? And some people sadly might never get it.
I've lost count. When I was in Manchester and here, I lost count how many funerals I've been to. Because of that shit. Because nobody's speaking like me and you. Nobody's saying you got to get this shit on. If you don't, you're gonna fucking die. When I started saying that, people go, you can't say that. You fuck you. Yeah. Can't say that. Why are we talking the truth these days? Why aren't we telling people? And look at me, stabbing the wife, lost the kid, all that stuff. The last thing my eldest daughter said to me fucking 30 years ago was, Daddy, please stop drinking. I tell a story every time. It makes me cry all the time I say it. Well, I'm telling it because you might be going through that shit. Why don't I talk about my homelessness? You might be going through this shit. The shame, remorse, and guilt. Let me tell you something, guys. The fucking shame is not yours to carry.
Yeah, I get that. I do get that. Do you know what? It makes me think, when we was talking about learned behaviours and all that in the past, when you're growing up, childhood traumas, when people struggle to find the courage to open up, to tell people what's going on that's got a lot to do with the past and all, innit? It goes back to childhood, doesn't it? It goes back to childhood.
Always. 100%. 100%. The key is to find that trauma. I've never been in a car accident. My parents didn't get there. I was never bullied. That's not what we're talking about, guys. That's what therapists talk about. Go see a fucking therapist if you want to talk about that. I'm talking about the shit that you don't even know trauma and it's stuck in the subconscious brain. Why are you not going for that job? Why do you keep making excuses? When you meet a nice person, why do you self-sabotage the relationship? That's the fucking trauma we're talking about.
Listen, I want to ask you one question, Rob, before we wrap this up. And I ask the same guest every week, but I feel like you've probably said many of them, actually. One piece of advice for anyone who's struggling, long-term, early days, whatever it might be, one piece of advice, what would it be?
Start dialogue. Start dialogue with somebody. I don't care who it is. Start dialogue about what you're going through, that's all. And that's all you got to do. You got to believe that, if you're going through this, it's not a punishment. I've seen this millions of times. It's not a punishment, guys. It's education for what your higher power, God, Uncle Jimmy up there is preparing for you. And you think, poor me, look at this shit, I lost my kids and everything. When you get your kids back, because you will. My youngest daughter got hold of me 3 or 4 days ago after fucking 30 years. When you go forward, people are going to say to you, hey, well, you don't understand, Rob, because you never lost your kids, check. Well, you never been beaten to death, check. Well, you never... This is what it is, and this is why the golden stuff comes from our greatest asset that we're going through now, because everything's temporary. It's not fucking life. You're there to learn a lesson. If you relapse, the book said we must always be hard on ourselves, but considerate of others. But if you relapse, don't fucking go and be all shameful about it. Relapse is not part of recovery. It's part of the disease, guys. Step out the disease into the solution.
Definitely. Rob, thank you for coming on the Sober Stew podcast. Guys, I hope you're enjoying the Sober Stew podcast and the episode today. Listen, I'm asking for a massive favour here. If you like the show, you like the podcast, and you feel like you're getting relevant content from it, please like and subscribe and share the channel, yeah? The way I see this is the more people know about this channel, the more chance we've got of spreading the message of recovery. And that might change one person's life. And if we do, that's enough. But let's look at it in a different way. If we save one person's life, that's massive. Please like, share, subscribe. God bless.
Be the best I could be and achieve my dreams. They ain't really been where I've been. They ain't seen what I seen. They ain't felt what I felt. And the smartest thing I done was reach out for help. Now I'm flying by myself.